What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is a requested video. Someone wanted me to do like a comparison between um, head coach George Karl and head coach Mike D'Antoni, like who was the better coach or whatever. And to be honest with you, I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't really have a lot of high regard for either one of these guys. So I think it's open to whoever you just prefer. Um, I guess maybe you have to look at who's the most accomplished coach. I mean, neither one of them won a damn thing. Um, but at least George Karl did go to an NBA Finals. I don't believe Mike D'Antoni's been to an NBA Finals. But D'Antoni has had regular season success, but that don't mean anything. Now, Mike D'Antoni is known as an innovator, obviously because of the 7 seconds or less offense that he implemented, which is sort of like seen by many as a precursor to the way the NBA is played today. But that depends on whether you think that's a good thing or not. Me personally, I don't like the way the game is played like that. I like the way the game was played in the mid to late '90s into the early to mid 2000s. But that's just me because I like defense. I like to see players score or persevere through adversity. I don't like seeing someone um, always just easily scoring without any type of resistance. You know, that's the thing now. You got all these guys today who are so used to doing things the easy way. And when there's any little resistance, they cry. They break down and cry to the refs. You know, like Trey Young. That's why I don't like him. But anyway, I guess one thing I'll say about these two, off the top of my head, is that Mike D'Antoni has a system, okay? The D'Antoni system. And that's going to be implemented wherever he goes, wherever he went when he was coaching. Whereas George Karl would pretty much try to use whatever system would fit the players that he had. Um, I mean, he made adjustments to what roster that he had. You know what I mean? Or his key players. I would say, like in the '80s, he was known as an offensive coach. Um, but when he was when he coached Seattle, you would argue that he was known as a defensive coach. Why? Because of the roster that he had. Matter of fact, that's one of the mistakes he made when he started coaching the Milwaukee Bucks in the early 2000s. He turned what was an offensive team, or he tried to turn to what was an offensive team, or what was working, and trying to make a defensive team. Bringing over Gary Payton, trading away Ray Allen, which is still a move that Milwaukee Bucks fans hate to this day. Um, Also, Mike D'Antoni is probably more beloved. By players. Um, they might find his system to be more fun to play in. He's more beloved by NBA staffers and teams. George Karl is not very well liked. George Karl is seen as a guy that is yesteryear, used to how players used to be. You know, you can't be a George Karl today. Um, he didn't like the modern day players. You know, we all know he didn't like Carmelo Anthony, right? So that's basically the gist of it. Off the top of my head, I mean, I would assume that George Karl is the more accomplished coach. Um, George Karl, I think, is one of only 9 coaches with over 1,000 coaching victories. Matter of fact, before I could talk about that, let's look at Mike D'Antoni. Let's look at Mike D'Antoni, the innovator of small ball. Now, Mike D'Antoni actually played basketball. I believe he played 2 seasons. If you ever look at some old footage of the ABA, and I think he played for the Kings, yeah, in the 70s, you might catch coming off the bench a young Mike D'Antoni. I think he had a mustache back then. So as a player, he played for like George Karl, he was a player, not a great one, but he played. Played 2 years for the Kansas City Omaha Kings in the NBA. He moved over to the ABA and played for the Spirits of St. Louis, and then had a stint with the San Antonio Spurs before they moved over in the merger to the NBA. At least I think that was before they were in the merger. Or was that the season? You know what? Actually, it was the beginning of the year and when they actually moved over to the NBA. So briefly when they moved over to the NBA, because it says 1976. He played for the Spurs, but then he, I guess, was waived. And then for 13 years, he played overseas for Olimpia Milano until he retired in 1990. He was a head coach over at Olimpia Milano for 4 years, from 1990 to 1994. Then he, if I say played, I meant coached. Then he coached for Benetton Basket in the Italian League. Then in 1997, he joined the Denver Nuggets as an assistant coach. Then I think briefly, he was the Denver Nuggets head coach in 98-99. Might have been an interim deal, I'm not sure. Then in 2000, 2001, he was an assistant with the Portland Trailblazers. Then for 2001, 2002, he went over and coached the Italian League again. Then in 2002, he was hired by the Phoenix Suns as an assistant coach. I'm trying to remember who the coach was in 2002. Was it Cotty Fitzsimmons for the last time? It might have been Cotty Fitzsimmons for the last time. And then he became the head coach with the Phoenix Suns from 2003 to 2008. That's when he had some success. Coached for the Knicks from 2008 to 2012. The Lakers from 2012 to 2014. He was an associate head coach with the Sixers for a season. Then he coached the Houston Rockets from 2016 to 2020. And then for 2020 to 2021, he was an assistant coach for the Brooklyn Nets. He had a lot of success as a player. I don't know whether I should highlight it or not, but I'll just mention it. In the Italian League, and in the Euro League too. 2-time EuroLeague champion, Korach Cup champion, FIBA Intercontinental Cup champion '87, 5-time Italian League champion, 2-time Italian Cup winner, 6 times he led the Italian League in steals, 50 greatest contributor in EuroLeague history. I guess that's the equivalency of the 50 greatest players in their history. Number 8 retired by Olimpia Milano. Number 10 retired by the Marshall Thunder and Herd. As a coach, 2-time NBA Coach of the Year, 2-time NBA All-Star Game head coach, NBCA Coach of the Year, 2-time Italian League champion as a coach, 2-time Italian Super Cup winner as a coach, Italian Cup winner as a coach, Saporta Cup champion as a coach, Korach Cup champion 1993. As an assistant coach for the United States, he won Olympic gold in Beijing in 2008 and 2012, London. Assistant coach for the United States, won the gold in the FIBA World Championships 2006 in Japan, FIBA Americas Championship assistant coach for the United States 2007 in Las Vegas, won the gold. As a head coach, Mike D'Antoni won 50 games or more 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and had a regular season record of 672 and 527 for a 56% win percentage. However, that did not translate to postseason success, as his overall postseason record is 54 and 56, which is a 49.1% win percentage. As a coach, he missed the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Ousted in the first round 1, 2, 3 different times, and made the conference finals 3 different times. 3 different times. Once with the Houston Rockets, and I believe twice with the Phoenix Suns. All right, so I mean he's had some success, but not the success that you would think or his reputation belies. Let's look at George Karl. All right, George Karl played 5 years for the San Antonio Spurs, 1973-1978. He was assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs from 78 to 80. Then he went to the CBA and coached the Montana Golden Nuggets. And then in 1984, he replaced some coach. I don't want to say nondescript, but he replaced some coach that was fired by the Cleveland Cavaliers. George Karl was hired as like a sound man, or he was hired for something. And then the actual coach got fired, and then George Karl replaced him. And at age 33, became one of the youngest head coaches in NBA history. He coached the Cavaliers for 2 years. He coached the Golden State Warriors for 2 years. He was fired by the Warriors, although some say resigned, but he was fired. Coached the Albany Patroons in the basketball league. Then went overseas and coached Real Madrid in the Spanish league. Then he had probably his most notable coaching stint with the Sonics, 92-98. Coached the Bucks for 5 years. Coached the Nuggets for 8 years. And then coached the Kings and then retired. As a coach, NBA Coach of the Year 2013, 4 times NBA All-Star Game head coach, 2 times CBA Coach of the Year, FIBA Supporter Cup winner 1992. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame as a head coach. And as far as his coaching record, he won 50 games or more 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different times. 1,175 victories versus 824 losses for a 58.8% win percentage. But he had a losing playoff record of just 80 and 105, 432 win percentage. And he missed the playoffs quite a few times, I think. 1, 2, 3 times. So he coached longer than D'Antoni, but missed the playoffs fewer times. 3 times, lost in the first round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 times. 14 times. 14 times George Karl's teams lost in the first round. Made the conference finals, let's see, 1, 2, 3 times. And made the NBA Finals, of course, 1 time with the Sonics in 1996. Man, I mean, I guess off of just sheer longevity, I would give it to George Karl, one of the 9 coaches of 1,000 victories, coached to the NBA Finals. So George Karl, the guy that will definitely improve your team. He'll do that. He'll get you to the playoffs. The problem is that he gets outcoached during the playoffs. Um, so he'll get you to the playoffs, but he tends to lose. Doesn't get real far in the playoffs. Mike D'Antoni will get you to the playoffs, but the limitations of his system always causes his teams to lose in the end. So you can actually kind of have it as a draw. You can have it as a draw. Maybe George Karl because of the victories, but that's pretty much it. Maybe George Karl narrowly. Tell me what you guys think.